We are here in Hyde Park this morning to shoot a very important video. Funnily enough, as we were biking here, we saw someone else was filming in Hyde Park this morning too, Lucy Worsley. Can you believe it? So there's more than one interesting person filming in Hyde Park this morning because I have my friend Tracy here. And Tracy, it's her last day in England before she gets on a plane and flies back to Texas this afternoon. And she has just completed her first trip to the UK, and we want to hear all about it. Now, you need to know, Tracy and I have been BFFs for 18 years.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's past 17. She held my babies. She held my babies, so it's been a long time.
Yes, I've been Auntie Dara to her babies.
Yes.
I have been trying to get Tracy to come visit us for at least 10 years and tour England with us. And then in the meantime, we bought a flat in Cheltenham. So it was really fun to have her come see where we live in Cheltenham and see some of our favorite places and come to London, which you've been wanting to do forever.
Yes.
So we're here in Hyde Park and we are in front of the beautiful Albert Memorial. And I just love this memorial. Tracy just saw it for the first time and was gobsmacked. Weren't you gobsmacked?
I was. It's gorgeous. Well, we saw the miniature.
We saw the miniature
in the V&A, right?
In the V&A, yeah.
And it's just so grand and majestic.
Yes.
It's beautiful.
And with the gold, it's just stunning. And then, of course, the Royal Albert Hall is across the way here, too. So,
I didn't imagine it to be this big.
Yes, Victoria, she really loved Albert, and she wanted to have a very grand memorial to remember him by. Let's talk about your trip here. First, you came and you stayed with us in Cheltenham and you went around the Cotswolds for several days. And then we've been here in London for 4 days and you've done the Tower of London. You've done a couple West End shows.
Yes.
We've done a lot of eating of yummy things in all the places.
Yes.
So we need to hear a recap of what are some of the favorite things that you did, and then we're going to ask some of the favorite things you ate.
Okay.
So what are some of the favorite things that you did or experienced while you were here?
It's almost hard to cap it up into a few favorites,
right?
Because we have packed it in.
You just say what you want.
Okay, we've done, but I will. I'll just say what I want. We've done so many fabulous things. I mean, I'm going to kind of think back to the beginning and go forward in my head. But the gardens were incredible. So I love gardening. I love flowers. And Ian and Dara both knew that. So
we started her off with a garden center.
Yes.
And then we took her to the two best gardens in the Cotswolds, Kiffstate and Hidcote.
Yeah. They were amazing. I mean, they were just marvelous, magnificent. The flowers, the smells, the views. I've never seen anything like it. I have traveled to Europe once before, but I was a teenager, and I've just never seen anything like that in my life. It was just gorgeous, breathtaking, really. So I really loved that. I mean, we have to just top of the list is the shows. I love musicals. So we saw Les Mis last night, and then we saw Hamilton the night before. You were with us for Hamilton. Ian was with us for Les Mis, and I mean, it's just such an exhilarating, thrilling experience. I love it. I mean, I've been to Broadway. It was just so fun to see Les Mis here in London and to see Hamilton for the first time here in London. It was just incredible. We absolutely loved it.
And I had seen Hamilton before in Chicago, just a few years after the show had first started. So I was familiar with it, but it wasn't as popular and as much of an institution as it is now. And the King George character, I was so funny. I was so looking forward to seeing King George III in London in that performance of Hamilton. And the funny thing is, I think most of the people in the theater were American. London,
I agree.
London right now is very full of Americans. And they all wanted to go see Hamilton, and they wanted to see King George. And so they extended his presence on stage versus when I saw it in Chicago. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, he did this thing with this scepter to follow the theater where all the people were. And everyone was just laughing. And I mean, his eyes were just hilarious. He was
awesome. Pandering to the audience, and they were eating it up.
They were eating it up. It was awesome.
All right. So enough about Hamilton. More favorite things.
So let's go back to some other things. Blenheim Palace has to make the list. First of all, I have trouble with my feet. So let's just say that. So we've had to get a little creative here between wheelchairs and museums and stools and taking breaks when we can. But we've made it work, and it's been fantastic. But Blenheim Palace gets 15 out of 10 stars for accessibility. It was amazing. It was just made the experience all the better for me.
Right.
But that place was phenomenal. It was just really neat to see. Enormous, beautiful. The grounds, we did a picnic. We went across the bridge there and
they even had a motorized scooter. So she was able to just like zip across the bridge to the island, and we had a picnic facing the palace. It was great.
I never could have experienced all that we did without their accessibility options. And so that was really cool for me to be able to just take it all in and see everything. And it was just really neat. Well, love the Cotswolds. Let's just say Cotswolds in general, because we did several little things, but it's just a very charming area. The thatched roofs, just English roses, and just flowering things lining the stone walls and
the honey-colored stone with all the bright roses on it.
It's just beautiful. I mean, it's just, and then it was so fun driving, that's a whole nother thing. We'll talk about driving, but just like seeing the rolling green hills and the sheep, and then you've just, anyway, and then there is a flowering weed, or I don't know if they call it a weed or a something. Cow parsley that looks a lot like yarrow for us in the States, but we looked it up and we don't think it is yarrow, but it was white most of the time.
And it was just a lacy border to all the roads.
It was a lacy border to all the roads. Yes, I loved seeing that. It was just, it's very calming and relaxing. And then we had lunch at that pub. What was the name of it?
The Halfway at Kyneton.
Yes.
That will be in a separate video about best pubs in the Cotswolds. And I'm going to share all the details of that then. But it was Tracy's first pie and Tracy's first STP.
Souffle and souffle. So first pie, first souffle, first STP. And they were all phenomenal.
Yes.
That was, and then you're sitting there and there's horses right outside the doorway. I mean, it was a cool setting. It was really fun.
Right.
Really, really fun. I mean, we saw castles. Let's see. We saw Sudley was awesome. That was beautiful. We saw a couple of castles.
Barclay Castle.
Yes, Barclay. Okay. We have to talk about the cathedral. I'm forgetting something big from, we haven't even come to London yet, but Gloucester Cathedral. I mean, like, I almost will maybe tear up when I talk about this. So we're leaving. I'm getting teary. Oh my gosh, we might have to pause. But this has been such a special trip. Oh my gosh, I don't know if I could do this. To be here with such wonderful, wonderful people and friends. And Gloucester was really special because one of my biggest hobbies is music. I love music. I have sung from the age of 12.
She's a beautiful soprano singer, and she's an amazing organist. So going to Gloucester Cathedral.
Yeah, I'm glad we wore our sunglasses.
Me too.
But yeah, so I love music. I loved finding all of the organs and all of the churches and the chapels. That was really fun to see. But when we're in there, like, we hear this heavenly music just coming out of nowhere.
Right. So for context, we're in the cloisters of Gloucester Cathedral, just walking around and talking about Harry Potter and all of that. And then all of a sudden we hear singing. And I'm like, and I look up and there's like a little speaker thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, are they piping in music? I haven't heard that before.
I know.
And then I take a few steps more and I'm like, no, those are real people. And then, lo and behold, we turn the corner, and in the chapter house, what did we see?
A choir singing, practicing. I mean, it wasn't just music. It was like, it was just gorgeous, heavenly, breathtaking music, just filling the halls of the cathedral. And then we went upstairs, and we were able to get this view because they moved into that section.
They moved into the choir, and we were up in the mezzanine, whatever you call that area.
Yeah.
And from the upper level, their voices ascending, we both got choked up and started crying.
I was crying. But that is really, like, I love sacred religious music. I love to sing religious music. And so for me, it was just like this moment, like stepping, like this otherworldly moment of this celestial music, filling this beautiful cathedral.
Right.
And I mean, the view there when you're up in the mezzanine is just beautiful.
Right.
It is beautiful. You've got the stained glass on one end, you've got the organ pipes on the other end. It's just these large ceilings.
And they were singing a requiem.
Yes.
So they were singing not just a hymn, but they were singing a requiem where everything's in Latin. And I couldn't help but think about the monks in there chanting, you know, hundreds of years ago. So I've been to Gloucester Cathedral so many times, but that was a moment. And then, of course, we found out they were performing that night, coincidentally, a benefit concert for the organ.
For the organ, to get some of the organ pipes up and running again, I believe.
Yeah.
And plus, my kids are big Harry Potter fans. And so we were just seeking out and doing some photo ops in some of the Harry Potter spots. My girls, I have one daughter in particular that is obsessed with Harry Potter. Her room is decorated in Harry Potter.
So maybe we'll take the Harry Potter theme and segue to London.
Yes, let's segue to London.
we've filmed in front of St. Pancras Hotel for the flying car scene. We've gone to platform 9 3/4.
Yes, and that was fun yesterday. That was on my bucket list yesterday, was just to see it. We did not stand in the queue to do the picture op, but it was fun to FaceTime my girls in America from that spot and be able to just kind of show them. They had enormous smiles on their faces. They were just super excited about it, and they wanted to see everything in the store, so we were able to do that. And I know that's a very touristy thing to do, but for my girls, that was like a must do, just to get that in really fast yesterday. So that was fun. Forgot to mention Oxford.
In Oxford, you went to Christ Church College, where also Harry Potter was filmed. You got to go in the dining hall.
That was an awesome tour. We loved that tour. Okay, so let's just highlight a couple of London things. I mean, honestly, I know I'm not getting everything, but there's just so many cool things. But we did do a tour in the Tower of London, and we decided to do an audio tour, and it was great. It was the perfect thing for us to do. I was able to sit and kind of listen, but there's just some really neat historical things there. Walking into the armory room, the chapel that's inside, is it called the White Tower? I can't remember, but yeah, the chapel inside the White Tower was lovely.
And Tracy's husband is a history buff, so I'm sure the history, that the Tower of London is just such a phenomenal history experience.
Yeah, it was really cool. We rode bikes and saw quite a few things. We were able to ride next to Buckingham Palace.
I rode a bike to Buckingham Palace and Trafalgar Square, which if you had asked me a week ago, are you willing to do that? I would have said, heck no, but somehow I did it.
Somehow we ended up there, and that is thanks to Ian for navigating us. Ian is the driver and navigator extraordinaire of this trip, so we were able to navigate, and it was, you know, something that was interesting to both my husband and I is that it's not what we expected. When we see it on TV, we've always imagined this like massive parallel street. I don't know, there's just something about the way it's videoed and that we see it in America on TV. So it didn't look like what I was expecting, but it was still super cool to see it. And
okay, so one of the things we wanted to talk about is what surprised you about the UK.
Yeah.
So one surprise is that Buckingham Palace is not on a big road.
Let's get the toilet conversation out of the way. And actually, this is a good surprise. I felt like the toilet, especially in Cheltenham, the toilet accommodations are so nice pretty much everywhere you go. And that changed once we got to London a little bit. But I was like constantly amazed. I mean, it's like you have these it's so clean. It's easy to use. The soap smells nice everywhere you go. I mean, it's like you're not scared to go into any places. And that is unusual for me with travel.
She was going to manor houses, just so you know.
However, it's still, even a gas station though, we stopped and it was still clean. So I was really surprised by that. Now, one of my gripes about the toilets in the UK is that there's no way, like in America, you either have, and I know this is wasteful, but there's paper towels and you can grab a paper towel and open the door after you've washed your hands. Or they've started installing foot things where you can open the door with your foot. There are no options here. So I'm like using my pinky to open the door.
I'm always taking my shirt and my cardigan.
Trying to like find some creative way to get the door open. So that's my biggest gripe. Although for the most part, I would give positive reviews for the toilet situation.
British and American bathrooms are very different,
They're
which
very
is
different.
why I spent 2 years researching the topic, and I did a video about the differences between British and American toilets, so I'll link that video in the description if you care to hear more of the toilet conversations. But let's
okay. Another thing that surprised me is some of the American places that show up in all over, really, and places that we don't consider to be that great, like
stores and
well,
restaurants.
like fast food, like KFC, Wendy's,
Taco Bell.
Like, I mean, I don't even go there myself in America. I was really surprised. Yeah, I was really surprised. I mean, I see all these things I'm very unfamiliar with, and then I see KFC, and you
like, knew McDonald's would be here. You just didn't know that all the other bad fast food got here too.
Yeah, no, you can't even pay me to go to KFC in the States. So that was very surprising to me, for sure. Let's see, what are some other surprising things? The grocery store, well, I think the food in general feels healthier and cleaner in a way. I don't know really how to describe that, but you know, even going into, like, we would go to Tesco and we went to a few M&S. And I loved, like, one of my favorite finds here was this bag of muesli, which I loved. I was obsessed with it when we were in Cheltenham, and I would eat that for breakfast. And the raisins. And yes, there was like this bag of mixed raisins, golden, regular, and then cranberries. I was like, I wish we could find this in the States. We have to create that ourselves. That's something that I love. So anyway, it's just there, but there was a lot of things to find. There's a lot of fresh things, and the strawberries were delicious, and it's just easy to shop. It's different. I like the grocery stores here. It's really nice. So and speaking of food, let's segue into desserts. We had some really great desserts while we were here. And some great food.
Two themes: pistachios and floral.
Yes, those are the themes. And we talked about this earlier, but the desserts aren't quite as sweet, and I really like that. That's actually how I prefer it, and so I wish we had a little bit more of that in the States. But there's just so many exquisite looking things everywhere you go, and pastries. I mean, you really have to find a good bakery in the States, especially in Texas.
Right.
I mean, that's just not a thing.
Right.
And so that was really different and fun. I mean, my husband and I love to just, our eyes get so big as we walk by all these things. And
I'll insert a photo of our breakfast at Gale's this morning alone, which was a lot of pastries. Yeah,
so we've enjoyed tasting all the things. But so here's my top 3 desserts, if we're going to segue into that a little bit. Number 1 would be the sticky toffee pudding at the pub. It was really good. Number 2 on my list would be this gelato that we had at Mayfair Mercado. It was
pistachio.
It started with a B. You're gonna have to look that up, and you'll have to post a little
I'll post a description. I'll post that on the video,
because it's like 2 flavors in one. But it was this amazing explosion, and I was just like, this is the best gelato I've ever had in my life. And so then Ian had already gotten apricot, which I was tempted to get because that was a new flavor for me.
And if you've ever watched this channel, you'll know that Ian takes every opportunity to eat ice cream or gelato on a daily basis. So the fact that he'd gotten a delicious apricot gelato, and then Tracy rocks up with this pistachio that changed her life. He's like, I know. I must have that too.
Well, I know. I sat down and I was like, Ian, I hate to, like, you know, ruin this moment, but this is the most amazing gelato that I've ever had in my life. And he was like, what?
So I went and got some, and he ate mine, but that's enough of that story.
So he took hers. Okay. Number 3 was yesterday. We had this pistachio and rose.
We were at a bakery called Leto, which I have shown in my London Restaurants We Love video. So.
And it's in Notting Hill, which, by the way, we loved Notting Hill. That was a
Portobello Road. You loved that too.
That was just a fun place to be yesterday. Of course, we're big fans of the movie Notting Hill with Hugh Grant and Julia Roberts, but that dessert was awesome
because it was pistachio and floral. It had rose petals in it,
but it had like 6 layers. I mean, it was just this thin cake,
like a raspberry
layer.
Blackberry on top.
It was so light but flavorful, delicious. We loved it.
Are there any other surprises or anything you didn't like?
Well, I liked fish and chips.
This was
shocking.
This was astonishing. So for all the years I've known Tracy, she will say, I don't eat seafood. I don't eat fish. I hate fish. I don't like the smell of fish, the sight of fish, the taste of fish. She, in the last year or so, has relented on salmon because her husband and other people in her family love salmon. So she's decided to try salmon a little bit. And I said, you really need to try
Yeah.
fish and chips.
Yeah.
The fried cod, it's not fishy. So her husband ordered fish and chips.
I
She
had the
tried to
grilled
find-
halloumi.
Yes. She had the vegetarian option.
But it was so good. And then I was kind of mad at myself that I didn't get my own because I really liked it. And, you know, it's interesting too because fried foods at home, they make me feel kind of sick. They're so heavy. And this did not do that. So again, I was mad at myself for not getting my own thing of fish.
Right.
But it was good. I really liked it. That was surprising.
Anything you didn't like about Britain?
I would say the hardest thing for me was the city air, but we were able to fix that with pharmaceuticals. But as Ian knows, so Ian and Brett and I went to Oxford together, and we're like rolling into Oxford, and all of a sudden, like, things start happening to me, and I'm sneezing more than I've ever sneezed in my life in a period of time, and my eyes are going crazy, and I'm just having all these things that never happened to me. I recently developed allergies in Texas over the last 3 years. I've lived in Texas almost my entire life, but this is way worse than anything. And I mean, we were sitting in a cathedral at one point. I was sneezing so much. I was so embarrassed. I was like, I'm sorry. I have to get out of here.
She was going to get kicked out for not being reverent because she was sneezing incessantly.
So we quickly went on the hunt for a pharmacy. I was able to get a form of Zyrtec and a nasal spray, and you had eye drops, and I've been fine ever since for the most part. But when we rolled into London the first day, the air was really getting to my eyes and everything. So I have stayed medicated with allergy medicine, but that was very surprising. And actually, I'm a nurse by trade or by education. So it was really interesting to talk to the pharmacist in Oxford, and he was saying that they've had a lot of issues. There's something about the location of Oxford and the way the air is, and just all like that, it just creates, they've had a terrible year for hay fever and allergies. So
if you're coming to visit Oxford, or maybe even London, or maybe if you're American coming to visit Britain, bring allergy meds.
Yeah. So that was a hard thing, but we managed, and I'm grateful. So honestly, for me, that's the only biggest standout that was hard, like as far as travel.
All right. So the big finale is, Tracy, are you glad you came?
Oh my goodness. Do you even have to ask that question?
And what are you going to do next time? What's already on your list for next time?
I mean, truly, this has been the trip of a lifetime. We have been talking about this for a really long time, this trip. And it's hard. We have 4 kids, and our oldest is off at university. As the Brits would say, university. But of course, my dear mother and her husband have been home taking care of the kids, which has allowed us this opportunity. But it has been phenomenal. Darren and Ian have been the most amazing hosts, and we've just been able to see so many wonderful things. It has been fantastic. Like, we just feel so happy and grateful, and we can't wait to come back and see more.
So what's on your list for next time? One is fish and chips, your own order of fish and chips.
I know. The thing is this is how I felt, is that there is history and something to see in every nook and cranny of England, I've decided. I mean, it's just everywhere. And so I know there were even things we took off the list that were in our original plan, and things that could be done. I mean, I would just continue. I love the English countryside. I mean, it's a good mix of things. There's more things that I would love to see here in the way of museums, and of course more plays. I would have to do more West End the second I come back. But for sure, I would want to do more of the countryside and even see other places around. Maybe go to Scotland. Our last name is Glasgow. So
that's on my list for your next time, is next time, no excuses, going to Glasgow.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that needs to happen. I mean, there's just so many beautiful places to see. So I think we would just have to start thinking about it, but we can't wait to come back.
Well, thank you so much for watching this recap of what my BFF thought of Britain. And do something good in the world today.